All right, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome once again to another episode of the Mr. Islam Answers Back show. As we always do before the show begins, or while the show begins, we send out a few tweets, a few posts on Facebook to let everyone know that the show has started while we give everyone a chance to join in and view the show. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let everyone know that we are on the air live right now while everyone, starts to join in the discussion. Okay, so let's let everybody know that we are live on the air right now and they can join in the show. Let's see, live right now. Join us. YouTube live. You know what? I wonder if let me see something. If I post the welcome, walaikum salam, Muhammad Zakaria, Oro Lolich, welcome. Young Thirst, salam, walaikum salam, Morpheus, salam. Good, good. We got a good turnout tonight. Alhamdulillah. All right, let me see something. I want to see something. Can I okay, here we go. So if I post this URL stream right here, then this will allow people to, instead of having to try to find the show, this will allow them to just see it right on the back, right? I guess. Share. Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, that's the one. Right, right. All right. Yeah, there we go. Maybe that'll increase our numbers. If we post this right here, then they can just join. Just come straight to the show, right? Let's see. Let's try this. Let's see. We're on live right now. Okay, and then I'll share the link right straight to the pop to the cast to the show, and that way they can come straight in, right? I believe. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I think that's what that'll give us a more, a better turnout. Inshallah, that'll give us a better turnout. Okay. All right. So, well, let's get started. We already got a good amount of people to start with, and let's get it in. Do Desi, wa alaikum salam. Wa alaikum salam. Yeah, well, that's what I want to talk about tonight. Tonight, what's new is, as you see, the title of tonight's show is Worshiping a White Man as God or Worshiping a Tree. The reason, well, maybe I should just let you guys see it and then I can explain. All right. I'm gonna let you. I want to let you guys. I'm gonna let you guys just see it for yourselves, and then you'll understand how I came up with this title and why. Okay, and then I'll explain and we'll get into the topic. Okay. So I'm gonna just do that. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna let you see. I was watching a video on Kalam. Alhamdulillah. All right, so check it out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to let you guys see this video, and then you'll understand the title, the reason for the title. Okay. So let's take a look at it. I'm gonna post it for you so you can see it. Let's listen. Just listen, and you'll see exactly why the show is named as it is. Okay, where's the video? Here we go. All right, here it is right here. Ready? Watch. And you'll
thank
understand.
God for slavery.
Listen.
I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on, somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Okay. Now, oops, we need to interact this before the next one starts.
In today's juice race,
all right. So, Okay, I'm sorry about that. So, what was I saying? So, yeah, so, wait, we need to go back to the other video after this. How do I go back? Oh, come on, man. Let's see here. Okay, I need to go back. I need to go back to the video again. So basically, that was Florida State Representative Kimberly Daniels, I believe her name is Kimberly Daniels. Kimberly Daniels, right? That's her name, Kimberly Daniels. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Yeah, her name is Kimberly Daniels, right? Oops, no, we didn't want that. We don't want that. Let's do this again. And then I'm going to explain exactly what I'm talking about here and why I named the title as such. Oh, come on. Sorry about that. I want to get back to her video. Yes, there we go. Let's do this again. Okay, let's do this again one more time. Hold on a second. Bear with me here. All right. Let's do this again. Let's do this again. Okay. One more time and boom.
I thank God for slavery. I thank God for the crack house. If it wasn't for the crack house, come on, somebody, God wouldn't have never been able to use me how he can use me now. And if it wasn't for slavery, I might be somewhere in Africa worshiping a tree.
Okay, so let's do that again. All right, so you heard her. This is, like I said, this is a Florida State Representative Kimberly Daniels. All right. This video was kind of going all around on certain parts of Twitter, particularly Black Twitter. Let's put it straight. It was particularly going around on Black Twitter, and of course, obviously, because of her statements, thanking God for slavery. Now, the issue, I mean, yeah, I took issue with that statement, of course, but the other issue that I took with it is that she's thanking God for slavery because if it wasn't for slavery, she said that of course, she's taken a slight of her descendants, her ancestors, saying that if it wasn't for that, she might be in Africa worshiping a tree. But the history shows us that well, first of all, but notice, look at how these Christians, these Black Christians, in particular, think. They're willing to put down their own ancestors, but she ignores the fact that because of slavery, she's worshiping a white man as God, right? Because of slavery, she has accepted the religion of the enslaver and the enslaver's descendants, right? Her God is now a man, right? Her God is now a man. Now I don't know if she believes Jesus is white or not. Most Christians, the fact of the imagery that they show us, whether they acknowledge it or not, shows us that Jesus is to them a white man with long hair, with long blonde hair or brown hair, blue eyes, and he's clearly a white man. But in any case, she's worshiping a man. That's just as bad as worshiping a tree, right? Worshiping a tree is just as bad, worshiping a man is just as bad as worshiping a tree. So she really didn't wind up in any better position. But the reality, though, is that if she had not, if we as African American people had not been brought to America as slaves, the case is that we more than likely would not have been worshiping trees because history shows us that many of the Africans that have been captured and brought to America and the Americas and turned into slaves were actually Muslims. So sorry, Miss Daniels, if it wasn't for slavery, if slavery hadn't taken place, you might be in Africa still worshiping the true God, Allah. You'd still believe in Jesus because Jesus is in the Quran. You just wouldn't be worshiping a man as your God, and you would not be worshiping a tree. So the reality is that if we had stayed in Africa, we would not be worshiping trees. Now, sure, yes, there were some African tribes that were animist and they worship, ancestor worshipped or called on the ancestors or something of this sort. But in a more likelihood, she might have probably wind up being a Muslim. because many of the Africans that were brought to America and turned into slaves came from Muslim nations. They were Muslims. There's history books about this. Some of the slaves were famous Muslims. There was one of them. I think who had somebody did a documentary on it. I think it was PBS, where the brother he was actually a prince. He had been captured. He had been kidnapped and captured. He was the prince of an African Muslim king. And when he was over here, he still knew how to read the Quran. He knew Arabic. He was not illiterate. He knew how to read and write. He could write Arabic. He could speak it. He knew how to recite the Quran. You see? So more than likely, Miss Daniels, you would have been a Muslim. You would not have been worshiping a tree, and you would not have been worshiping a man as God either, which is just as bad. Worshiping a man as your God is just as bad as worshiping a tree. So she's thanking God for slavery, but not seeing that, well, because of the slavery, you now worship a man as God, which is just as bad as worshiping a tree. And for many Christians, the man that they worship, he's a white man. Let's keep it real. He's a white man. Your imagery tells on you. Your imagery tells on you. Your movies tell on you. You constantly see Jesus portrayed as a white man. And particularly for people of color, that's troubling, right? If you're white and you want to worship a man, if you're going to worship a man, surely it makes sense to worship a man who looks like you, right? Excuse me. Right? Surely if you're going to worship a man, it makes sense to worship a man or a person that looks like your own, right? Because if you're worshiping, if you're of a different color or different race, and you're worshiping a god who's a man or woman or whatever, but that man or that woman god does not look like you, and you're worshiping a god man or woman man who looks like another group of people, another race of people, another color of people, what are you saying? What's the implication there? Right? The implication is that, well, these people are better. Because look, you're worshiping a God who looks like them and doesn't look like you. So by default, the implication is you are inferior. They are superior. Why? Because not only does their God look like them, but look, their God is one of them. And he's not you, and you're worshiping their God who looks like them. So by default, you're upholding them as higher. And that exactly was the mentality. That exactly was the mentality when Christianity spread by Europeans was taken upon around the world, right? We see the history books show how they looked upon the people of color that they went to, whether they were black or Asian, Southeast Asian, or whatever. They looked upon them as heathens, the Native Americans, as heathens. But they were the superior white race who was bringing their God to you to worship. So if you accepted Christianity, when they're telling you that, look, this is what God looks like, he looks like one of them. This is God's son, who also looks like him. Well, by implication, what does that tell you? And then look, and then look at us. We are white and we look like God and God's son, but you don't. Nobody in God's family looks like you, black Africans. Nobody in God's family looks like you, Asians. Nobody in God's family looks like you, Southeast Asians, you Indians from India, you people from Bangladesh, from Indonesia. God doesn't look like you, nor does his son. His son looks like Europeans. What is that saying? What's the implication there? And there are many evidences that show that the implication is clearly understood. Matter of fact, there was a video that I wonder if I can find it, but I might be able to find it while we speak. I don't know, but there's a video I saw of some children. They were being questioned, black children. They were being questioned about who they, what does God look like? And of course, what did they say? They said, yeah, God is white. God looks like a white man. God looks white. And they spoke it innocently. Like it wasn't like they were, speaking it because of the implication. No, they were speaking sincerely, truly. This is what they really believed because they don't know no better. But because of the imagery of Christianity, right? So they don't know no better. So they were like, yeah, so the man asked them a question, said, who's God? What does God look like? They were like, yeah, God is white. God is a white man. I've even done this myself, even before YouTube and all, when I was younger, right? When I was younger, I had a friend who had a younger brother, and I had already, read material that kind of, was addressing this kind of mentality and how it gets programmed into us, particularly people of color, in who are reared up in Western societies, right? And so I said I wanted to test the theory. So I had my friend. I went to my friend's brother, who was a younger child at the time, and I asked him quite simply. I said who's God? He told me who God. I said, what's God look like? I said, what color is God? He said God was white. And again, he it wasn't again. He spoke it innocently. He spoke it, just what he really believed. But why did he really believe that? Because that's we don't realize it, that subconsciously, that's the imagery that's being pumped into your head. So what else is he going to think? See, what else is he going to think but that God is white? Because that's all the images you see. If you look at little pamphlets and little brochures about Christianity or Jesus, he's always shown as what? A white man with long hair, blonde hair, brown hair, right? The angels are shown as little white children, little white babies, or white women, right? Or white men, depending on, the image. But the angels don't look like me, right? The angels don't look like a brother from Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, right? No, brother, the angel doesn't look like he's Asian, right? From Japan or China or Taiwan or nothing like that. No, the angels look like they're white, whether white babies, a white woman, or a white man. And of course, the image of God. If you ever seen the images that they had the audacity to paint God, like on the Sistine Chapel, well, what is God? God is an old white man with white hair, right? You see? And so that's the images that are subconsciously being put in. And so you ask a black child what they think God looks like, more than likely they're going to tell you, yes, he's white. And that right there tells you, that right there exposes the fact, because it's so innocent and so natural, right? It's so innocent and so natural. And that's what they'll tell you. Say, yeah, God is white. So in response to Representative Kimberly Daniels saying that, oh, she's thanking God for slavery because if it wasn't for that, she might be in Africa worshiping a tree. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You more than likely may have been in Africa worshiping the most true high God, Allah, and not any man at all. You see? But look, slavery, our ancestors were brought here in slavery. We were indoctrinated into the Western man's religion, and now you worship a white man as God. And I repeat, that's just as bad as worshiping a tree. That's just as bad as worshiping a tree, worshiping any man as God, especially if the man doesn't look like you. You see? If you are going to believe in a man, which I don't advocate, but if you are going to do that, wouldn't it make sense to worship a man God that looks like your own people? Right? Wouldn't it make sense to worship a man God that looks like you and your people? So that way you can say, hey, well, look, hey, our God looks like us. Our most high superior God, he looks like one of us. Not you, a black man or woman, worshiping some white man as your God. If you're going to worship a man as God, right? Does that make sense? You're showing that you're inferior. The fact that you're worshiping a God who looks like somebody, you notice nobody else does that, right? Other than other people of color that have been indoctrinated into, the Western version of Christianity. Now let me see some of the comments here. Let's see. Is she an Auntie Tom? Monotheism exists in Africa before probably any other. That's true, Young Thirst. Exactly true. There were Muslim kings in it. Yes, indeed there were. There was Mansa Musa. There was Askia Muhammad. There was Sunni Ali, just to name a few. These were prominent, well-known Muslim kings in Black Africa. These were Black African Muslim kings. So she would have more than likely been worshiping Allah, the one true God, who's not a man, who's not a tree, who's not an animal, or any other such thing. That's what you would have been worshiping, Miss Daniels. But instead, you're in America because of our ancestry and what happened to them, and now now you worship a man as God. You see, don't churches in Africa paint? No, they don't, Brood. No, they don't. Do you know what's funny? There was matter of fact, I wish I could see if I could find that one too. There is a video of I believe it was an actor. I believe it was an actor. Maybe I don't know if they were doing a movie or something, but there's a video. I don't know what country. I don't know if it was Nigeria or Kenya, one of those African countries, where an actor, he's dressed up like white Jesus. and he comes out on the street, and all of a sudden all of the black people in that town or whatever, they start flocking around him as if he's really Jesus. So no, in Africa, churches have Jesus as white also, unfortunately. Unless you go back like to ancient churches, like ancient Ethiopian churches, they do have Jesus painted as a black man and his disciples as black. But if those are the ancient ones, if you look at modern, modern churches in Africa, a lot of them unfortunately have white Jesus, and a lot of Africans believe that Jesus is that white image that they see. There's another video I saw. Man, I need to get these videos for you. I'm gonna see if I can find it while we're talking. There's a video of I guess a street talker guy in New York, right, in New York City, in Harlem, and he has like a little street setup, and he has images. He has images of the fake white Jesus, I guess what could be the black Jesus, and some other figures or whatever. And so as people walk by, he asks them the question, who's the out of these people on this picture? Maybe it's a picture of Malcolm X, picture of Martin Luther King, etc. He's like, out of these people, who's the most important person to you? And many of these people at Harlem, if you're familiar with Harlem is a predominantly black town or city in New York, and it's known for its black population, right? And what happens is many of the people pick white Jesus. Many of the people pick white Jesus and say, yeah, white Jesus is the most important person to them. And so there was one where a brother from Africa walks by and he asks him a question, and he's like, yeah, he points to the white Jesus. And so the brother questions him about Jesus. Look, this ain't Jesus. And he's like, yeah, that's him. So it shows you that even in Africa, unfortunately, they've been duped by years of colonialism and invasions as well, and have been indoctrinated into the Western version of Christianity, which we can't deny it promotes Jesus and God, whether they say it directly or not, as a white male figure, right? Now, when you put people on the spot, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, no, Jesus, we don't know what color he is or whatever," right? Or nowadays people sometimes will tell you that, "Oh, he's supposed to be Middle Eastern or whatever." But if you let them speak on their own, if you don't put them out on the spot about it, oh yeah, they won't challenge the image of Jesus being white, right? They won't challenge the image of Jesus being white at all. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I titled it the title of today's show as it is, because of this video that I saw of this representative. Let's see. Don't church. Okay, we answered that one already. And see, I spoke about this before too, um, about that, the images, and because sometimes people say, well, these people make Jesus look like them and such and such. Now, yeah, you might find some minority of churches that might have a black image of Jesus, or a Korean church that might have a Korean image of Jesus. It's rare. But the thing is, though, is that the default Jesus is the white Jesus. So yes, you might find some rare black churches with a black Jesus. You might find a rare Korean church with a Korean looking Jesus, maybe, right? But you will only find those Jesuses in that church. So in other words, you're not going to find the Korean looking Jesus in a black church or a white church or or Hispanic Latino church. You're not going to find the black image of Jesus in the Latino church. Well, then again, you know what? You might sometimes, because sometimes in South America they do have statues of black, of a black Jesus and Mary figure. Sometimes they do have that. So yeah, sometimes you might find that. So I'll take that back as far as Latin America goes. But you won't find the black Jesus in the white church, or in the or the Korean church, or Asian church. But the white Jesus will be found in every church, right? Because that's the default Jesus. So the white Jesus will be you'll find him in the white church, in the black church, in the Latino church, in the Korean church. That Jesus will be accepted and found in all. But the Jesus of different colors or whatever, he will only be found in the church that is represented by the people of that color. You see what I'm saying? And that's the difference. That's the key. That's the key right there. You see, is that's that you're not going to find the black Jesus being shared throughout all the churches. No, he will only be in a black church. The Korean Jesus will only be in a Korean church. Why? Because the default Jesus is the image of the white Jesus figure. Let me see if I can find those videos real quick. Let me see. Let me see if I can find that. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find that. Let's see. White Jesus in Africa. Let's see. Nigeria unveils Africa's biggest Jesus statue. Not that one. Let's see here. Well, this Jesus in Nigeria looks white, from white marble, thought to be the biggest of its kind. Yeah, this image of Jesus here in Nigeria looks like he's a white Jesus. Let's see that one. I'll post it up for you guys. So you see my point? Yeah, that's the one in Rio de Janeiro. Let's see. This is the one in Rio. That's not the one in Nigeria. Okay, here's the one in here. Yeah, here's the one in Nigeria. Okay, I guess they showed the one in Rio first, in Rio de Janeiro, and then they show the one in Nigeria. Yep, even the comments are saying it. They're like, There's a person named Dion Brown who made a comment on the video saying, "I'm very disappointed that in this day and age, people, especially Africans, maintain the belief that Jesus is white." Again, a person named Tim McDowell says, "Why are Africans worshiping a European Jesus? You are paving the way for Europeans to take over your land. They already have altered world history, and you keep allowing it to happen." Yes, indeed. Once again, proof that the European Jesus have conquered the minds of indigenous people around the world. Yep. So here, let me show you the video, the images of the white Jesus in Nigeria. And you can see, yes, that even in Nigeria, if this is accurate, that look, yes, they have the white Jesus image as well. And this is Nigeria. I mean, come on now. You know what I mean? This is Nigeria, black country, black African country, worshiping fake white Jesus. It's sad. It's shameful. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. Here we go. Let's post that up for you. So you can see. Then while we do that, I'm going to show you, find those other videos that I talked about.
Presenting Just for Men Auto Stop. It's time travel in a comb. It gives you back your natural hair color before you went gray. No mix, no mess. Comb in and your natural hair color.
Alright, now that's the one in Rio, right? That's the one from Rio. That's not the one in Nigeria. This is the one in Nigeria right here. This one here. Okay, there we go. So this is supposed to be the Jesus in Nigeria. You can see he clearly looks like he's a European white man. Clearly looks like he's a white man, right? His hair clearly doesn't look like a Nigerian, does he, right? Doesn't look like he's Nigerian. So you see, like the people in the comments were saying, even in Africa, unfortunately, white Jesus is there, and this is proof that their minds have been colonized. Even though the colonizers may have gone, but they left their mark on these people's brain. They left the country, but they left their mark on these people's brains. As you can see, that they didn't even have sense enough to put in Nigeria a black Jesus. If you're gonna worship a God who's a man, damn, worship a one who looks like you at least. If you're gonna, again, I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying if you were to go that route, at least have him look like you and your own people, man. But here you are, biggest Jesus in Africa, and look at it, he's a white man. Now, ain't that something? Here in Nigeria is like probably 99.9% black nation, right? And yet here they got white Jesus right there. Sad, shameful, right? Sad. Real sad, real sad, real sad. You know, real sad. Let me see if I can find the one where the Jesus point. Let's see, white Jesus in let's see here, in African town, because that one's gonna also expose to you the issue, the problem as well. You're gonna see that. Let's see. Let's see. White's only town. No, that's not it. Nigeria. We did that one already. Let's see. Where's the one with this guy, this Jesus actor dude goes to this African town, and everybody's like, yo, they're all crowding around him as if he's the real Jesus or something. You know what I mean? They're crowding around dude like as if he was really Jesus or something. Let's see. Man, where's that one at? Let's see, let's see. What's the one? Jesus. Let's see, let's see. How about Jesus actor? White Jesus actor. Maybe that'll help me find it. White Jesus actor in African town. Maybe that one. Let's see. Man, where's that one at? Found the hillbilly. Where is it at? Man, I don't know. I can't find it. You'd have to see that one too, man. That one's crazy. Hmm. Wait, Ugandans Christians worship white. No, I don't think is that it. Maybe that's it. Let's see. White Jesus actor in Uganda. Let's see. Maybe that was the one. In Uganda. Nope. That's not it either. Come on, man. No, I can't find that one. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. I can't find that one. Let me see. What about the one with the children? With the children. Let's see. Let's see. Black kids say God is white. How about that one? Hmm. Hmm. Man, I can't find that one either. Man, oh man. Ah, boy, looks like I can't find that one either. Looks like I cannot find that one either. Yeah, I can't find that one either. All right, so I don't want to take too much of the time from that. So let's get back to the show.
I thank God for slavery.
She thanks God for slaves. She says, whenever I give dowry to black folk, I always tell them I don't understand how black folk can be Christian given the history of slaves in this country. Yeah, well, definitely can relate to that. But that's the thing about it, that a lot of people just don't know any better. We've been generation after generation so indoctrinated into Christianity that we don't, a lot of us don't know any better. A lot of us don't know any better. So this is why you have the saying about knowledge of self, right? They talk about knowledge of self. You know what I mean? And that's important. Having knowledge of self is important. If they had knowledge of self, then perhaps they would not worship or follow the religion of Christianity if they had knowledge of self. But a lot of us do not have knowledge of self. So because of lacking knowledge of self, if they had knowledge of self, they would know that look, many of our ancestors were like this lady. Many of our ancestors were Muslim. So again, no, you wouldn't more than likely have been worshiping a tree in Africa. You would have been worshiping the one true God in Africa. But now you're in America and you worship a white man as God and the Son of God, right? You worship a white man as God and as the Son of God. But that goes to show you how they don't even think it through. She's thanking God for slavery, but not even thinking it through that. Well, no, you know, because of slavery, you find yourself in a horrible position worshiping a man, a white man, as God, a man who looks like those who enslaved our ancestors. That's who you worship. You know what I mean? You're worshiping a man who looks like the man or men who enslaved and mistreated our ancestors. And they can't even make the connection to that would be, well, not see, that they can't even make the connection to see the how foolish that is, right? To see how foolish that is. That man, wow, we worshiping a God who looks like the people that enslaved our ancestors and mistreated us. Not only enslaved, but after the slavery, mistreated us, and we're worshiping a man, God, who looks like, you know what I mean, who looks like them. You see? And who's keeping you down because obviously he doesn't favor you, right? Ain't that something? You've been praying to this white man God who clearly doesn't favor you. Because if he favored you, why would he allow the people who look like him to do what they did to us? Right? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But again, people have been so brainwashed and indoctrinated that they can't even think that deep, like I just said. But you know what, though? A lot of people are waking up. I will say that. A lot more people are waking up. A lot of African Americans are waking up. They may not necessarily be choosing Islam. Some are choosing Islam. Others may go towards something else, maybe whether it be some kind of African spirituality or, whatever. But they are waking up and at least rejecting the idea of following Christianity and worshiping white Jesus and all of that. So people are waking up. They are starting to wake up. You know what I mean? They are starting to wake up, no doubt. No doubt about it. They are starting to wake up. But there's still many left sleeping. There's still many that are left sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Also, there's a TV show called Roots, not the movie, and it portrays uh, Omaru Kunta Kinte's father worshipped like a Muslim. Yes, yes. In the original Roots, it was the same thing. In the original Roots, also they also demonstrated the fact that yes, many of the Africans that were brought here and made and turned into slaves. Let's make that clear, right? They weren't slaves before. Well, some of them may have been, but many were not slaves, and they were turned into slaves here. And yes, in the original Roots, they do. Alex Haley does show that they were Muslim. Yeah, Kunta Kinte's father, he spoke about Allah. He did not eat pig. He didn't eat the swine. So they do have a little mention of that. Also in that movie, Amistad. Remember that movie Amistad? We want free or whatever. I forgot. Remember that movie? Even in Amistad, they also had a scene where when they were on the slave ship sailing to America, some of the Africans started making salat, right? They started making the prayers on the boat. So that also demonstrated a little bit of that history to let people see that yes, many of our ancestors were Muslims. We weren't, worshiping trees and animals and stuff like that. Some of us were some of our ancestors were Muslims when they got here. You know what I mean? Even in there's also a new documentary also, right? There's a new documentary um, about Haiti, about the Haitian Revolution. And in the Haitian Revolution, I saw there was a man who preceded the revolution. His name was Boukman. They called him Boukman, right? Boukman. Now some say they called him Boukman, I guess, as I mean, the way they spelt it, it more like had like an Arabic, meaning to it or pronunciation to it. But they were saying that they called him Boukman at meaning bookman because he used to have a copy of the Quran. He had a copy of the Quran tied around on, and he carried it around his waist. So the history is, the history is unanimous about this, at least from what I saw in the documentary. That yes, the history of this man Bookman, I think he was in Jamaica first. I think the history claims that the origins of that rebellion spirit started in, he was from Jamaica, and his name was Bookman, and he was, the history says that he had a Quran with him that he always kept on his waist, around his waist, and that's why they called him Bookman, because he always had that book with him. He always had that book. And I did remember reading that the Jamaican Revolution against the British also involved Muslims, the Maroons, right? They called them the Maroons. The Maroons were said to be Muslims, and they had that rebellion, that as the Quran says, to fight against oppression. And so they fought, and they got their independence from the British. They won their independence from the British, and they lived up in the mountains, and the British could not defeat them. The British could not touch them in Jamaica. So you see that spirit of rebellion, as Allah speaks in the Quran, to fight against oppression. This is why they don't want us to be. They don't want us particularly to come to Islam, because Islam is not going to let you remain docile, right? Islam is not going to allow, it's not going to let you, it's not going to teach you a doctrine of docility, you know what I mean, and allowing people to walk over you. Yes, Islam teaches, humility and humbleness and things of that nature, but it also has a balance where it teaches you to stand up against oppression, against injustice. And so when people are trying to oppress you, they don't want you to have that kind of teaching, right? They'd rather teach you what? They'd rather have you believing what? As we've spoken, turn the other cheek, love your enemy, forgive those who do this and do that to you, right? They'd rather have you do that, right? Now, Islam has that too. Islam has the option where you can forgive. But again, there's a balance. There's a balance there. It doesn't turn a blind eye to wrongdoing and oppression. But you can see how they'd rather have you, and why they wanted the slaves to follow Christianity, because that keeps you in a state of docility. It keeps you passive. See, it keeps you in the downtrodden state. And that's why I told you, notice they never practice that for themselves, right? They never practice it for themselves. We talked about this in one of the previous shows, right? How they never practice that for themselves, right? For themselves, it's always, shoot 'em up, bang bang, cowboy, Rambo, Terminator, John Wayne, right? You're either with us or you're against us kind of stuff. They don't talk forgiveness. They don't turn the other cheek. They don't talk, let's extend the hand of friendship. Remember when Obama, when he first became president, and he said that on his inauguration, his first inauguration? What did he say? He said, as president, I want to extend a hand to others and reach out to the other countries. They looked at that as weak, right? The haters of Obama, they looked upon that as being weak. To them, that's weak. I told you this. To them, that's weakness. When you want to have peace and be friendly and make peace, to them, that's weakness. They consider that weak. I remember when I was a young kid, growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, and I remember when Jimmy Carter was president. And under Jimmy Carter is when they had the Iran hostage crisis, right? When they had the Iran hostage, when Iran had some Americans kept as hostages, called it the Iran hostage crisis, right? And when Ronald Reagan was running for president, right? When Ronald Reagan was running for president against Jimmy Carter, the thing that not everybody, but the thing that white America loved about Ronald Reagan was that he had this tough guy persona. They called him Ronnie Reagan because he supposedly had this tough stance that he was going to deal with Iran, and we're not going to negotiate with terrorists and all that stuff like that. And so that appealed to white America, and they thought they looked at Jimmy Carter as weak. Jimmy Carter was seen as weak because he didn't do anything to rescue the hostages. So to them, Jimmy Carter was a weak man. But Ronald Reagan, he was like, yeah, he was the tough guy. He had the tough guy persona, and they liked that. His nickname was Ronnie Reagan. Ronnie Reagan's what they call. I remember, even though I was a young boy, I remember that. I remember those little parts of it. And so when I look back, I see that's what that makes my point. is that they talk the talk, they talk that talk for us. They want us to believe the people that they want to mistreat, do wrong, violate. Yes, for us, turn the other cheek, love your enemy, pray for those who curse you, blah blah blah. For them, no, it's revenge. It's we're gonna bomb them into the Stone Age. We're gonna make them pay. You gotta pay for this. You're gonna pay. We're gonna get you. It's all that's what it is for them. You see. So my point is to say that you could see why they would want to promote Christianity to the people that they oppress, i.e., the slaves. So that way they would never think about rising up, right? You would never think about rising up. You'll always be in this. You say, oh, okay, well, these people mistreat me, but yeah, let me love my enemy. Let me love my enemy. Let me turn the other cheek. Let me pray for the master because even though he hates me, right? Let me pray for these people. You see? And that's always promoted as the noble way and noble, noble ideal for us. But for them, if they take that route, it's seen as weak. You're seen as weak among them if they do that. So for them, they praise the violence, solve the problem with violence. Yeah, send a missile strike, bomb them, invade them, hit them back, strike back. Yeah, they like that. They like that. You see. And then, yeah, the funny thing about the Ronald Reagan thing is that it was all a farce. Because behind the scenes, he was negotiating. That's why they had the Iran-Contra scandal. Come to find out that the way the hostages got released was because behind the scenes, they was given Iran weapons. They gave Iran weapons. It was a little arms deal behind the scenes. But in public, it was, yeah, we're Ronnie Reagan, we're tough on terrorists, we don't negotiate with terrorists. But behind the scenes, they were negotiating with Iran. And that's how the hostages got released. Not because they were scared, not because America said if you don't release, we're gonna do something to you. No, behind the scenes, they did negotiate with them. But to the public, oh, we all thought it was because they were scared of Ronald Reagan, right? We thought, oh, they scared of Ronald Reagan, so that's why they released him because they knew he was gonna do something. No, they released him because he made some deals behind the scenes, which was revealed later as the Iran-Contra scandal. The Iran-Contra scandal. See, so when it came down to it, he wasn't even really tough. He wasn't even really tough. But they like that tough image. Same thing with Donald Trump. Same thing with Donald Trump. If you go back and look when Donald Trump was running, Obama was seen as weak. All those who were in favor of Donald Trump saw, how they were happy to get rid of Obama because to them Obama was seen as weak. Trump was again the tough guy. Yeah, Trump is going to handle those terrorists. Trump is going to handle ISIS. Obama didn't do, even though Obama did do something. He had under his watch were a bunch of drone strikes and all that, just the same. See, but I guess he didn't make a big deal about it, right? He didn't make it like all the time in the media. So to white America, he's weak. He was weak. Some of them even claim he was a Muslim himself. But when Trump was coming in, they were like, "Yeah, Trump's going to handle it. Trump doesn't take no mess." See, so they like the person, they like the tough guy persona. They like that for themselves. For us, they praise you when you're meek and humble and passive, and that for them they praise us for that. But for themselves, no, that's not the route to go. That's not the route to go for them. You know what I'm saying? Said Muhammad Zach Usted. I wonder how that makes Jared Taylor feel. Right, after a few generations of slaves, Islam was wiped away from them by systematically killing and separating children from parents. Yeah, yeah, they did a lot of that kind of thing. They also it was also illegal to teach the slaves to read, right? You could be killed if you were a slave reading or teaching a slave how to read. But again, like I said, a lot of the history shows that there were Muslim slaves, that they already knew how to read. At least they knew how to read Quran. They knew how to read and write Arabic. Some of them have retained it. They retained that information. So even though they had been enslaved, but you're right, after they went generation after generation, they were able to wipe that out, where that was gone, where generations following generations no longer knew that they were Muslims, no longer knew Arabic, how to read it, how to write it, or whatever. But some of the earlier first generations of those that were made into slaves, they still knew how to read Arabic, how to write it. They knew how to recite the Quran. There's stuff about that too, saying that some of them, there's many a history that talks about how, they could recite it. They were still able to recite Quran while they were here. They could still read Arabic. They could still write it. You know what I mean? So that showed you they were educated, at least in their own, from their own, their own system back in Africa. They had an education. They could read and write. So they stood apart from some of the other slaves. You know what I'm saying? So what's this here? Uh, Ronald, how that makes? What do you mean, Jared Tell? I don't know. Yeah, I'm familiar with Jared Tell, but what do you mean? How what makes him feel? Ronald Reagan cut and ran from uh, after Lebanon gave America them a taste of their own medicine. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, the what was that? The Lebanon, Beirut, right? Wasn't that the Beirut bombing? I remember. I was a kid when all this stuff happened, but I remember that one too. I believe they drove a truck, right? They drove a truck into the Marine barracks or something like that. I remember that too. I was only a kid then too, but I remember, I still, even back then, I would still, catch a little bit of the news and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So that's why when I think back, these are all the things that I can speak about because I remember them when I was younger, from when I was younger, And at the time, I wasn't Muslim. You know what I mean? But I still remember these things. Um, that's why they had to kill Malcolm. He wasn't having it. They loved Martin Luther King because they knew he was harmless. Yeah, but you see what happened in the end with Martin? He got killed too. See? And that's the thing about it, you see? Wa alaikum salam, brother Shazad Ali. Welcome. Is that you see, you do all that and they still hated you. They still hated him. And he wound up killed just like, Malcolm. But you know what they were saying though was that Mount Martin was changing. That's what they were saying too. Perhaps that has something to do with it. That he was starting to change, not necessarily that he was changing into a more Malcolm X stance, but he was definitely becoming a little bit more. He was moving away from his initial ways of speaking. He was starting to speak more about demanding reparations or some type of justice, economic justice and stuff like that. He started speaking out against the wars. You know what I mean? So now he was becoming. Now they started to say, "Oh, okay, you're getting out of line now." You know what I mean? You're getting out of line. You know what I mean? And did you know there's even images where he met Elijah Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. You know what I mean? And he did meet Malcolm one. There is a picture of him and Malcolm meeting one. I don't know if they ever had a chance to actually have discussions with each other, but there is an image where him and Malcolm did actually get a chance to meet, and there's a picture of them, a famous picture with them together. There's also when Malcolm, after he left the Nation of Islam, that he went. If you ever saw that movie, that Martin Luther King movie that came out maybe about maybe about 2 3 years ago, I think it was called Selma. There's a scene in there where after Malcolm leaves the Nation of Islam, he goes down to is it Alabama? I think he went down to Alabama or Montgomery, somewhere. Yeah, Montgomery or Selma. He goes down when Martin Luther King was in jail, and he goes to help Martin Luther King's wife, Coretta Scott King, and that's when Malcolm X does the House Negro speech. That's when he does that famous Field Negro, House Negro speech, and Uncle Tom speech. That's when he does that speech. So he actually goes down to because he's no longer with the Nation of Islam. He now has the ability, he's more like a free agent. So he can now start to align himself with some of the other civil rights groups. And so he lets Coretta Scott King know that he wants to help Martin, and he comes down while Martin was in jail, and he speaks and says that hey, what Martin is doing is the right way. Basically, he says like, look, what Martin is asking for and the way he's asking for it is right. So you should give him what he wants, because if his way fails, then we're gonna try it my way. We're gonna try it my way. So look, you should listen to Martin, because he's what he's asking for is the right way, but if his way doesn't work, then we're gonna try my way. And basically, he's like saying like, you don't want that, do you? You don't want that. You don't want it. You don't want my way. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, so after Malcolm dies, there's an image where Martin meets with Elijah Muhammad. I don't know what was discussed. There might be a transcript of it. I don't know. But he then meets with Elijah Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. And then after that, you notice that Martin starts to change. He now starts talking about black pride and black is beautiful. And, he starts to take a more, I can't say hardline approach, but, he's definitely moving away. He starts moving, his speeches show that he's moving away from the way he was speaking before. he's starting to speak a little bit more consciously, about black pride and stuff like that, and you know what I mean. So clearly, somebody influenced him. Somebody must have had started to influence the way he was thinking for him to start speaking like that. And he even starts to say that his dream. He said that, remember he had his famous "I have a dream" speech. He says there's a thing where he says that, look, that now his dream has turned into a nightmare. He's quoted as saying he fears that he made a mistake and that now he's integrating his people into a burning house. So you see, he's changing. But see, they don't tell you about that Martin. They want to keep telling you about the other Martin, the turning the other cheek and non-violent resistance Martin. You know what I mean? That they want to always tell you about that one. They don't tell you when Martin starts talking against the war. He speaks out against the Vietnam War. He starts speaking about that, hey, we need reparations, and black people need reparations. You did us wrong. We need economic reparations. They don't tell you about that. They don't tell you about that Martin. He starts talking about black pride, and being not being ashamed or feeling inferior and stuff like that. Clearly, he was being influenced. Somebody, I don't know if it was Elijah Muhammad that influenced him, but something influenced him, and he starts to talk a little bit different. And then this is when they killed him. See, but again, the way they teach it in school, they don't tell you about. They don't tell you that type of more. They don't tell you that Martin spoke out against the wars. I think Vietnam War. See, they don't tell you that he started talking about reparations and that type of thing. They don't tell you that. See, they don't tell you about that kind of Martin. You know, so that's the thing we have there, brothers and sisters. War on drugs was specifically created to target blacks, according to recent documents. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was an article that came out maybe last year, and I forgot the person's name, but it was one of Richard Nixon's advisors, right? One of his advisors or a member of his cabinet who, I think on his deathbed, I think it was when he admitted this fact and said that, yeah, the war on drugs was created to target target black people, right? Figured they, look, we can because they couldn't be blatantly racist anymore. That he said, look, we need a new way to get them, so we'll make this war on drugs and we'll catch them like that. We'll get them like that, and we'll target them specifically. We'll target these anti-war protesters. They targeted the hippies, but he talks about targeting the hippies and targeting black people. We're gonna get rid of these people. Can't have them speaking out against the war and all that kind of stuff. So we'll target them. And yeah, so yeah, you're right. Yep, no doubt about it. Wa alaikum salam, false sex. Welcome, alaikum salam. So yeah, so once again, in with keeping with the title, in response to Florida State Representative Kimberly Daniels, that she's thanking God for slavery because if it wasn't for slavery, according to her, she might be in Africa worshiping a tree. But I'm saying that she is in America worshiping a man as God instead, which is just as bad as worshiping a tree. Right? It's just as bad as worshiping a tree. And what makes it worse is that you're worshiping a white man who's not even of your own people, which makes it even worse more worse than worshiping a tree. Not only are you worshiping a man, but you're worshiping a man who does not resemble you or your people, which which implies a superiority for the people who look like the God that you worship. Right? Whereas subconsciously you got to think, well, hey, if God looks like that, his son looks like that, I don't look like God's son or God. So what does that tell me? What does that tell me subconsciously? Even the brother Ahmed D that I talked about, well, I haven't talked about, I've talked about this before in some of my older videos, but even brother Ahmed D that was aware of this fact. In the book that he has called Desert Storm. It's an old book that he has. It's not that old, but it's old, from maybe like the early 90s. Brother Ahmed D that had a little pamphlet book called Desert Storm. And in this book, Desert Storm, he talks exactly about what I'm talking. Even he, even though he wasn't black, but he grew up in South Africa. Even he was able to recognize the social implications of worshiping a white Jesus. And he talks about what I'm saying about how worshiping this image of a white Jesus implies a type of a superiority for whites, because obviously God and his son look like whites, and a subconscious inferiority for blacks and other people of color. So even the brother Ahmed D that talked about this, even he had recognized the social implications of worshiping a man as such. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, what's this? A superiority complex. Have you seen the desperate and oppressed Syrian refugees? Oops. What happened to your statement? It disappeared. What happened? It says message retracted. Did you erase it? I don't know what happened. I was just getting ready to read it, but I don't know what happened. Black isn't a race. Yeah, true. But, the way they have, categorized things, they have made it into a race, black as a race, white as a race. But you're right. The reality, though, is when you get technical about it, then yes, reality is neither one of those are a race, white nor or black. But because of the way that Western society has been, built up, and the way they categorize people, well, then it has become a thing. It has become a thing. So all right, brothers and sisters, we're gonna go ahead and end it on that. Before I end it, let me talk about the sponsorship. Please remember that you can always get my book. Today's show is brought to you by my book, He Never Was God: How Scripture Shows Jesus Was Fully a Man and Not God. Available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. You can get it in paperback or in ebook form. Today's show is also brought to you by my DVB, which means digital video book, entitled Takia: The Lie They Made Against Islam, which is a detailed, thorough refutation of the claims that haters against Islam make that Takia is supposedly a teaching that allows Muslims to lie and deceive and trick non-believers in order to promote Islam. We refute that claim in our DVB. Also, you could sponsor our platform, the Mr. Islam Answers Back program, show, the work that I do, my website, all of that, by donating to the links in the description of the video. You can donate through our website, thecaseforislam.webs.com. There are dashes in between, so if I'm saying it, I'm just saying it without the dashes. But understand that the link is in the description of the video below. You could also donate directly through PayPal, paypal.me/brother bro Shadid. If you do not have access to any of those means, you could lastly use the super chat, which is, as you see right where you're chatting at, you see the $sign. You click on that and it will allow you to make a donation of various dollar amounts. But please remember, when you use the super chat, that it takes 30 days or more. I'm gonna add that. It takes 30 days or more to get to the YouTuber, any YouTuber, because number one, they also have a threshold that the donations have to reach a threshold before they send you the money. So if you send me $25, number one, I don't get not only me, but any YouTuber does not get the full amount. A percentage is taken out. And then not only that, but then whatever amount is left after they take out their percentage, let's say $22 is left. Let's say you send $25 and $22 is left. Maybe they took out $3 or 20, whatever, and I'm left with $22 or $20 or whatever, right? Well, I still won't. That money will not go to the YouTuber until the donations amount equal $100. So if it takes 7 months or a year in order for the donations to reach $100, the YouTuber will not get that donation that you sent until the threshold reaches $100. I'm saying all this to say, use the links in the description if you want to make a donation. Okay? Use that to make a donation instead of the super chat. But like I said, if you don't have any other options, then by all means go ahead and use the super chat. It will, we will eventually get it, inshallah. But better use the links in the description. That way I get it directly and it comes quicker and we can utilize it faster that way. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So one more time, you can support us by getting our book, He never was God. How Scripture shows Jesus was fully a man and not God. Available on Amazon.com, Amazon Kindle, in paperback or ebook form. You could sponsor us by getting our DVB, Takia, the lie they made against Islam. Or you can just donate directly by going to the website, our website, thecaseforislam.webs.com, which is in the link, excuse me, where the link is in the description of the video, or donate directly through PayPal at www.paypal.me/broshadid, BROSHADID. Those are the ways you can help our platform to expand and help me to be able to, do the work that that the brothers and sisters want me to do. I do this because I do it for the pleasure of Allah, of course, for the necessity to refute the lies and the claims, and also because the brothers and sisters. I have gotten many messages over time, even when I had slowed down. When I slowed down and started making videos, because of, like I said, being busy or whatever, and I would make a video every once in a while, I would always see in the comment section people saying, "Bro, make more videos, make more videos. We miss you. We want you to make more videos." So clearly, the brothers and sisters, they want me to make more videos. They enjoy my information. They enjoy the way I present the information, what I'm teaching, what I'm offering. So you know what I mean. So they definitely were telling me, "Bro, we want to see you more. Make more videos. Make more videos. We want to see you more. We appreciate, So mashallah, I appreciate you just the same. But as I said, in order to continue to do the work, you know, your donations will help me do that. You know what I'm saying? Your donations will help me to be able to, to do those things and make more videos that you enjoy and that you benefit from. You know, so I thank Allah for your kind words, for your support. Um, and we want to continue, and we want to continue to refute the lies. You know, debunk the claim, the misinformation, and share the information with you, share the truth with you. So, so please, your donations will definitely do a great, deal. And remember what I've said on the other shows, that if you cannot donate now, you could always donate at any time, right? So if you can't donate right now at the moment, you can always come back to the video or any of the other videos. The links will always be there, so you can do it at any time. It doesn't only have to be during the show. It could be done tomorrow, later on tonight, when the show's over, in the morning, next week. It can be done at any time. You know what I mean? But if you have donated during the show, I always say this: if you have donated during the show while I was talking, I can't see it now, but once I'm done with the show, when I sign off, I always will go and check. So if you have donated while I was talking, let me thank you ahead of time and say, may Allah reward you. I thank you. I appreciate it. My gratitude to you for your donations. It definitely helps. Believe me, it helps. Believe me, it helps your brother out. You know what I'm saying? It helps. It really does. You know what I mean? And especially now, I know I was telling you guys about how I was having some car issues. This is on a side note, just letting you know what your brother's going through. I had some car issues, and I'm still having the car issues, man. I don't know if matter of fact, I don't know if any of you brothers know, or any even sisters know about the car. I mean, I know something about the car. It appears that I was telling you that I had my car was overheating and stuff, so I had to change the water pump, and it was a very difficult job. But I come to realize that even after changing the water pump, the car is still losing antifreeze. It's still losing fluid. And what I come to find out is that I believe I have a cracked gasket head or something, or cylinder head. No, the head gasket seems to be damaged, because once I put the water pump on and put everything back together and started the car, at first it started and it was running very rough, real rough, and it was popping, making popping sounds and everything, and smoke was coming out of the exhaust. And for what I understand, and also too, when I checked inside the oil cap, there was like a thick, creamy, milky looking substance, and that means that water fluid is getting into the engine, mixing with the oil, and it creates that creamy looking film. And so that means that there's liquid getting in there. So it appears that I have a cracked or blown, my head gasket is blown, and so the fluid is leaking into the engine. And so I'm trying to fix that right now, and I need to get back on the road, because I told you, not only do I teach, I have my martial art business, but I'm also an Uber driver, and right now I can't get back on the road until I fix this, because the car keeps overheating. So I'm trying to fix this, and I'm doing all these different things. I did the water pump, the thermostat, all these different things, and come to find out that it probably didn't need any of that, right? It probably didn't need any of that because the engine is, I'm still losing antifreeze into the engine. So I didn't realize that because I thought it was all these other issues, but now I see that that's after fixing them. Now I was able to pinpoint, say, oh, this is what it is. And so I haven't been able to get on the road, and I'm kind of falling behind on some things because of that. I need to get back to work. So I appreciate your donations. If you send the donations, understand and believe that I greatly appreciate it, and it definitely is needed. I'll put it that way. So if you can help your brother out just tonight, please, I would greatly appreciate it. Greatly need that so I can try to get things back in order because this is hurting me. So all right. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm just being real with you. I'm being real with you, brother. I'm not trying to put up a front. I'm just keeping it real. That's the reality of what's going on. But again, and so I took the time out tonight to make sure that to do the show. And like I said, hopefully we can keep it on schedule, inshallah. Hopefully we can keep it on schedule from here on out. Let's see, brother Shadid. I like your style of debate. You're full on. You don't hold back. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. You know what I'm saying? May Allah guide us to that which pleases Him, accept from us. Ameen. Yes, indeed. There's one. What's that? Remember the video Shadid did on the FBI? Oh yeah, FBI entrapment. It's clear they planned terrorist attacks that they wanted to blame on Muslims. That's false. But yeah, remember now. I remember in that video I posted the links in the description so that way you guys could see everything I was talking about. That I posted the documentary. It was called, what was it called? I forgot what it was called again. The Newburgh 7 or something like that, right? I posted the documentary so you could see that and see how that was all set up. It wasn't even a real terrorist attack. It was set up. I posted the information about the first World Trade Center bombing and how that Egyptian undercover guy that he recorded his conversations and how he thought that they were supposed to make fake bombs, but they really made real ones. And then they took him off the case when he had the ability to stop them from letting the bombs go. They took him off the case, which kind of exposes that. Well, it appears that they wanted it to happen then, because if he was in with these guys and he was the undercover agent, he could have stopped them. Why'd you take him off? So I posted everything, all the evidence, and it was from mainstream media. It wasn't like this was from some underground conspiracy websites or Alex Jones. No, this was public record. All those things were public record. So what you're saying there, false sex, is true because all the evidence that I provided was from mainstream media outlets. It wasn't no undercover conspiracy sites. This was mainstream record on public record. You know what I'm saying? So there was one when it all broke down. I've seen that. I haven't seen that. I haven't heard of that one. But yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Okay. So yes, indeed, may Allah guide us to that which pleases Him and accept from us. Ameen. Thank you, brother Shazad Ali. For your kind words. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Let's see. There's this dua. Oh Allah, give us beneficial knowledge, good provisions, and accepted actions. Yes, Ameen. Ameen. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, brothers. I'm gonna go ahead, and sisters and guests and non-Muslim viewers or whatever, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and end it on that. All right. So just remember about that many of the people that were brought here, made into slaves, were Muslims, and so again, to Representative Daniels, many of your ancestors were actually Muslims. So you may not have been in Africa if it wasn't for slavery, worshiping a tree. You may have been wind up worshiping the true God, Allah, and you would have still believed in Jesus because the Quran teaches, right? You would have still believed in Jesus. You would have been worshiping the one true God. You wouldn't have been worshiping a tree, and you wouldn't have been worshiping a man either. So either way, you wound up in a horrible position because you wound up in America worshiping, because of slavery, worshiping a man. And on that note, we will end it. On that note, we'll end it. And again, if like I said, if anybody did donate during the show, may Allah reward you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And again, your brother could definitely use the help. All right. I don't want to say too much, but believe me, your brother could use the help. All right. But again, so if you did donate, thank you. And again, don't remember, please, the book is available. Get the book. Get the DVB. They're out there. You know what I mean? Let's please. I appreciate your support. Help me support me on those too. Get that book. Get the DVB, and let's spread it around. Oh yeah, don't forget to like the video too. All right. Don't forget to like the video because that'll allow the the algorithms to go up and more people will get to see it. So even if they don't see it, they weren't tuning in now, they'll get to see it. So don't forget to put a like on the video. Like the video so that way it'll go up on the algorithms, and people will see it on YouTube, and other people can catch it and see it as well. All right. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night or good morning, depending on where you're on the world. And again, I appreciate your support. Whether you're watching the show, you're donating, buying the book, whatever, I appreciate it. Your brother appreciates it very much. And again, may Allah reward you. You guys have a good night or good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I'll see you on the Friday show. All right, I'll see you on the Friday show. Assalamu alaikum.